Lean in for our last day, our last series, last session for our leadership series. We want to give Tate Hill a special thanks for providing today's lunch. Let's give Tate Hill appreciation. Sponsor today's lunch. That was delicious. Then want to give Carolyn Miller, our Board of Aldermen. We're so glad that she's a part of this. She's been here several times. Let's give Carolyn a shout out today. Of course, our mayor, we appreciate everything she's doing for our city. Let's give Mayor a hand. We appreciate all that she's doing. Thank you guys for your consistent buy-in to this leadership series. There's been a lot of topics that have been discussed, and we're so thankful that you're committed to grow yourself in your city department and be a part of this. This is just our first leadership series. We'll, after today's session, I'll come back up and walk us through what this certification process will be. I'll hand you out a sheet today. Has 2 QR codes. One is basically the study guide that you can download on your phone or print off at your department. And then there'll be a quiz, online quiz. If you need a hard copy quiz, like old school with the number 2 lead pencil, you can print one of those out and circle those answers. But your department head director will have the hard copies to print off in your departments. But we want everybody to grow. We want everybody to not only grow in your employment here, but grow in your individual interests and family. That's what leadership is. It's influence. It's growing as individuals here at the city of Booneville. So without further ado, let's welcome Cory Lee one more time to the city of Booneville for our last session, session 6 of this year's leadership series. Cory, come on, buddy.
Awesome.
Appreciate it, man.
Thank you, brother. Appreciate you, man. How's everybody doing today? Good, good. It's good to see you guys. I have really enjoyed getting the opportunity to come out with you guys the last few weeks, and I do hope it has added value to you. On my way in, I got called out for the coin flip. So you know what? I'm going to give you guys that didn't win the coin flip, I'm going to give you a new opportunity, all right? So here's what we're going to do. Let's everybody stand up. Stand up. I'm going to make sure it lands on you. I got you. All right, so I got a coin here. If you think it's going to land on heads, you put your hands on your head. If you think it's going to land on tails, I know we've gotten closer, but you put your hands on your tail, not your family member's tail, all right? So, if you think it's going to land on heads, go ahead and put it on heads. If it's going to land on tails, tails. Here we go. Heads or tails? It is tails. Heads, have a seat. Heads. Oh, no. All right. All right, heads or tails? Heads or tails? What do you guys think? Here we go. Heads or tails? Everybody good? Did anybody go head? Okay, we got a couple heads. Here we go. It is tails. Heads, have a seat. All right, heads or tails? Heads or tails? All right. So y'all feel like it's going to shift. All right. It's not loaded. It's loaded. You want to try? Okay. All right. Here we go. Tails, heads, have a seat. It is double-sided, I promise, I promise. All right, heads or tails? Heads or tails? Here we go. Tails, heads, have a seat. Woo, wow. Wow, y'all are committed. Here we go, heads or tails? Heads or tails? All right, he feels good. Here it goes. Heads, heads, heads. Only one? All right. You know what? We got you. And you get peanuts today. You get peanuts and a book. Heads. There you go. Awesome. Appreciate it. Awesome. Good stuff. Over the last few weeks, we've talked a lot about different leadership topics. Last week, we really touched on some laws of leadership. Today, I want to, I guess kind of the theme, if I would put it under a title, would be legacy. How do you make an impact on people you may never even get to meet? And before we get into that, I want to say a word. And when I say this word, I want you to capture the very first thought that comes across your mind. The very first thought that comes across your mind, it may be a picture, it may be a word, but when you hear the word success, what comes to mind? What comes to mind for y'all? What was it? What are some of the things that come to mind for y'all? Money. Here you go. Thanks for interacting. There we go. Money. What else? Success. Anybody get a picture of something? No? Who else found money as the first thought that came to you? Okay. What else comes to mind when you think of success? What is it? Happiness. Yeah, come on, let's go. Happiness. What else? What was it? The leader. Yeah, come on, let's go. Success. When we opened up our business, I think I've already shared with you guys, I didn't know anything about leadership, didn't know anything about running a business. And so I started reading books, and I came across this guy named Jim Rohn. And Jim Rohn was one of my favorite guys. Anybody ever heard of Jim Rohn? Not the sports guy, but the old school motivational guy? Yeah, I see one or two. Look, Jim Rohn, I like Jim Rohn. He had a very unique philosophy on life. But one of the things that he said there's actually a formula to success. There's a formula to success. He said the formula to success is just a few simple disciplines practiced daily. How about that? He said there's also a formula to failure. If there's a formula to success, there's also a formula to failure. He said the formula to failure is just a few tiny errors in judgment repeated every day. How about that? I like that. I like the word a few, because if you think about success or failure, however you define success, success isn't typically one giant leap and failure one giant fall. It's typically a slow fade and a slow climb. And in fact, I was talking to, this was a few years ago, I was talking to a friend of mine, and this guy, he had a moral failure, right? Had a moral failure, and he said something interesting to me. He said, Cory, right here is where I fell at, but back here is where I began to fall. Back here I started doing some things, and back here I stopped doing some things. Nobody saw it, and I kept on, and it eventually came to light. Y'all, that's true for failure, but it's also true for success. See, everybody, my pretty star up here, everybody wants to get to my pretty star. Everybody wants to hold up the trophy and say, man, I did it, but they don't love the process. It's in the process. Back here, when nobody's watching, what you do in the dark is when nobody's watching, those nights where you just grinding and, you working on the habits and the disciplines. Here's the thing about the process, though. Nobody pats you on the back in the process. They don't hand out blue ribbons during the process. But it's in the process that you and I develop the habits, the character, and the gifts to be able to bear under the weight and responsibility that comes when your name is called. Like, I think about there's this proverb that says, an inheritance gained too quickly will not be blessed in the end. How about that? You got the inheritance, but you weren't ready for it. How many of you have heard stories about people that, maybe they won the lottery, or maybe they're athletes, they got paid multi-millions of dollars one day, and then 7 years later they're dead broke. And you're like, how in the world? How can you just got 12 million bucks. Like, how in the world can you be broke? Well, it's because they became a millionaire on the outside, but they hadn't become a millionaire. They were bigger on the outside than they were on the inside. I'll read you guys a quote. This is a Joe Frazier quote. I like it. Joe Frazier says, champions aren't made in the ring. They're merely recognized there. Champions aren't made in the ring. They merely recognize that. What's old Joe talking about? What's it mean? Champions aren't made in the ring. They merely recognize there. What y'all think he's talking about? Yeah, like the training, all the stuff. Who said training? Let's go. I got you, man. You know what? We'll go. Let's go. There you go. I saw you move some too. Yeah, it's like what you do when nobody's watching. Like, the training that you do when nobody is watching, it eventually be exposed in the light. The training you don't do will eventually be exposed in the light. I was doing, a couple weeks ago, Farmers and Merchants Bank, they sponsored our stuff. Give a shout out to them. They're one of the teams that I get the opportunity to work with. Been working with them for a few years now. Well, one day after one of our sessions, one of the guys, he came up to me and he says, you know, I like that Joe Frazier quote. But he said, actually, this is a lady, I'm sorry. The lady, she came up to me, she said, I like that Joe Frazier quote, but my daughter plays travel softball. And we say it a little bit differently. She said, the way that we say it in travel softball, she says, you don't earn the trophies at the tournament. That's just where you pick them up at. How about that? You don't earn the trophies at the tournament. That's just where you pick them up at. I want to give you guys a definition of success. Actually, I want to give you 3 definitions. I know James may have a test for y'all. Y'all didn't know y'all were coming to a vocabulary test. I'm going to give you 3 definitions, okay? This is not on the test. I didn't give James this, by the way. But here's the definition of success, significance, and greatness. The definition of success is how well I've done for me. Success is how well I've done for me. If we really went around and I asked you guys, how do you define success? Typically, success is very personal. Everybody would probably have their own little definition of success. Success is how well I've done for me. But significance is how well I've done for myself and others. Significance is how well I've done for myself and others. It's where I begin to start making an impact not just on me and myself, I actually start making an impact on those in my world. And you guys know this, all right? You guys that have gotten a taste of significance, once you get a taste of significance, you know success will never satisfy. Like once you get a taste of making an impact in the lives of someone else, living for yourself, it just don't taste good no more. But I'm going to give you another definition, and this is the definition we're going to hang out at. It's the definition of greatness. See, greatness is how well I inspire others to do well for themselves and others. Greatness is how well I inspire others to do well for themselves and others. What I love about that definition, y'all, is the generational tone to it. It's in a work setting. It's that 3rd and 4th generation, that 3rd and 4th level deep that's doing well because I chose to lead in a certain kind of way. In a family unit, it's that 3rd and 4th generation that's doing well because I chose to lead my family in a certain kind of way. And so let's say I know I've used Gary as a couple examples a couple times, but you know what? You're on the front row. So let's say I see Gary, and the way he goes about his life and the way that he interacts with people, it inspires me. He inspires me. And I go out and I was like, you know what? Because he's making an impact, I want to actually go out. I want to serve people the way Gary serves people. And now Gary is influencing people he's never even met. It's how well I inspire others to do well for themselves and others. I love the generational tone to that. And you guys ever heard a guy named Jonathan Edwards? Anybody ever heard Jonathan Edwards? A few? Okay, all right, there's a few. I like it. All right. So for those that have not ever heard of Jonathan Edwards, you know, he lived just a couple years ago. It's like early 1700s. So Jonathan Edwards was actually, he was a pastor, but he was famous for launching the first Great Awakening in America. But in his generation, he was known as one of the most brilliant minds in America. He was known for his high morality, high ethics. And I came across this in I found this in like a New York newspaper where they studied his genealogy. So again, he was known for his high morality and his high ethics. And they said, let's study his genealogy. And let's take a contemporary of his, so somebody who lives in the same city, same state, same time frame, opposite morals, opposite character, and let's study that genealogy. This is what they found, y'all. From Jonathan Edwards, they studied 729 descendants. Of this number, 300 became preachers, 65 college professors, 13 university presidents, 60 authors, 3 U.S. congressmen, and 1 vice president of the United States. And by the way, if you're familiar with U.S. history, that was Aaron Burr. I think he lost being president by like 1 vote or something like that. And the family cost the state $0. Max Jukes, a contemporary of his, opposite morals, opposite character, this is what they found. They studied 1,026 descendants. 300 of them died prematurely. 100 were sent to the penitentiary for an average of 13 years. 190 were public prostitutes. There were 100 drunkards, and the family cost the state $1.2 million. But check out this epitaph. They made no helpful contribution to society. How about that? Man. Wouldn't you hate that to be written over your name? No helpful contribution to society. George Washington Carver said, no individual has any right to come in this world and go out of it without having left behind distinct and legitimate reasons for having passed through it. How about that? I've got I guess what I find interesting about that is Jonathan Edwards, anybody in that generation, genealogy, they could have stepped out of line. They could have stepped in line at any time. Max Jukes out of line, in line at any time. And in fact, I got a friend, his name's Scott King, and I like something Scott King says. He says, Cory, my family's a lot like this Max Jukes guy. He said, but my goal is I want to change my branch of the King family tree. And I was like, I like that, Scott King. I like that, right? And so, hey, you know what? I don't know what your family unit was like, but I feel like, we've all got those kind of family members, you know what I'm saying? And you got the opportunity to change your branch of your family tree. You don't have to be just like everybody else. If your family tree is amazing, that's great. Keep it going. But I want to give you, when I think about how great people live, I want to give you some thoughts on how truly great people live. And when I think about truly great people, they actually live their lives through a certain kind of lens. There's a certain lens that they live their lives, and that lens is through the lens of potential. It's the lens of potential. We've talked about this before, y'all, but that's a 0. That's a 0 for my Espanol-speaking friends in here. It takes 0 talent to call out the dirt in the lives of other people. Anybody can do that. Anybody can call out the dirt in the lives of other people. Most people are well aware of the dirt in their lives, but they've never had anybody introduce them to their potential. In fact, most people start on the borrowed belief of other people. That's a 0. That's a 0. It takes 0 talent to call out the problems in culture, in an organization, in a city. Anybody can call out the problems. We want to be able to spot the problems, but y'all, I want us to be men and women who offer solutions. If there's a challenge, there's always a solution. If there's a problem, there's always an opportunity. And so, truly great people, they live their lives through a lens of potential. And I'll share this quote with you guys again because it's one of my favorites, and I hope y'all remember it. But it says, treat a person as they appear to be, and they remain the same. But treat them as if they were what they could become, and eventually they'll become what they should and could become. I know I used this example last time, but what's your name? Amy? Let's say I see... Amy, I got you, Amy. There you go. Thank you. Let's say I see Amy right there, and I treat Amy based off of what I see on the physical appearance and what I know about her past. What that quote basically says is I leave her unchanged. But if I say, Amy, you know what I see in you? I see someone who's got a calm demeanor, who doesn't get upset easily, someone that can thrive in chaos. I see someone who carries peace. I see someone who's a good listener. I see someone who is caring. I see someone that can actually up-level those around them. I see someone who can think strategically in chaos. When there's problems, you're someone who can think strategically. That's what I see in you. And if I keep calling her out, if I keep saying that, eventually she's going to elevate her own expectations of herself, no matter what other people may say about her. And so, y'all, we can continue to keep calling people out, You know, one of the things I came across, you ever heard the word gossip? Yeah, we've heard the word gossip. I came across a new term a few years ago. It's called glory gossip. You glory gossip about people. You know what glory gossiping is? It's talking good about people behind their back instead of talking bad about people behind their back. Most people are well aware of talking bad about people behind their back. We want to talk good about people behind their back. You know, one of your roles as a leader is we do have to correct people, but also I think a shift in that too is catch people doing the right thing and call them out on it. Call people out on doing the right thing. You know what you reward gets repeated. And so, truly great people, they live their lives through a lens of potential. When I think about truly great people, they also live with the default mode to exceed expectations. Most people do just enough to meet the expectations. Most people do just enough not to get fired. They do just enough to get by. But we want to be men and women who exceed expectations. You ever heard of a guy named Truett Cathy? You ever heard of Chick-fil-A? Chick-fil-A? Okay, some of y'all heard of Chick-fil-A, some of y'all ain't. Y'all that have not heard of Chick-fil-A, y'all need to try it. It's good. All right, Chick-fil-A. Truett Cathy, he was the founder of Chick-fil-A. Anyway, he was telling a story about how Chick-fil-A was on this tipping point. And they weren't what they were today, but they were on this tipping point. They were trying to get to that next level, right? And so he brings in all of his department heads in, and they're talking about how do we get to this next level? And all of his department heads would be like, well, we got to do HR bigger. We got to have a bigger HR budget. We got to do marketing bigger. We got to have a bigger marketing budget. And all these department heads are talking about bigger. Finally, Truett Cathy said, you know what, guys? If we would just get better, then the market would demand that we get bigger. If we would just do what we do with another level of excellence, the market would request that we get bigger. Y'all, we want to be good at what we do. We want to do the things that we do with excellence, whether somebody's watching or not, but we want to be great at who we are. In our family, when it's your birthday, all right? When it's your birthday, you get to choose where we're going to go out to eat. And it was our niece's birthday. And y'all, out of all the places, y'all ever go to Tupelo to eat? Yeah, all right. Most, right? There's a bunch of options in Tupelo. There's a bunch of options. Out of all the places in Tupelo that she could have chose to eat, she chose to go to Cracker Barrel on a Sunday, right? Yes, all right. Y'all get it. Y'all get it, all right? I like some Cracker Barrel. But on a Sunday, it's an 87-hour wait to get off in that place. Like if you drive by it on a Sunday, it's a line out the door. Well, it's her birthday. And so we decide to go. We get there, we wait our 87 hours, we finally get seated, and the waitresses, you know, I mean, they're doing the best they can, right? But they stressed out, but y'all, there's this busboy. There's this busboy, and this guy, he's walking around like he means business. He's got his chest out and his shoulders back. He's got a little water bottle on his hip, and he pulls the water bottle out, and he spins around and pop, pop. And then goes off to the next one, pop, pop. And I watch our kids. They stop everything they're doing, and they watch this 18-year-old boy wipe down tables, right? Like, they stop playing a little triangle game, you know what I'm saying? To watch this 18-year-old boy wipe down some tables. The dude didn't have to carry himself like that, right? He was exceeding expectations. And I'm just like you guys. Like, talented people, they ain't just sitting at the house. Talented people ain't doing nothing. If you want to get talent for your team, you got to go out and get it. And so, you know, I'm always looking for talented people and people who stand out. And, you know, wife Kim, she knows that. And I look over at her, I was like, you know, that dude right there, he ain't going to be here for very long. That's Chick-fil-A material right there. He's going places, right? And so we want to exceed expectations. I think one of the reasons most people do not exceed expectations is they fall into that trap we talked about a few weeks ago, that comparison trap. When I begin to compare myself to other people, if I see someone who's a little further down the path than I am, I get a little frustrated. If I see somebody who's not as far down the path as I am, I could get a little complacent and get content. I was thinking, actually, I was doing this training yesterday with this team, and one of the guys asked a really good question in there, and it had me thinking about this, how we were talking about, we were talking not in the same content, but I was talking about being great, right? And I was talking about how most people settle for being good, that good is the enemy of great. And one of the guys asked, he's like, well, what if I don't want to be great whenever it comes to like money, but I want to be great in my family? And I was like, that's exactly the point, right? That's it. You got to identify like what is most important to you. And if I say my family is the most important thing, that I want to pour into that and be great at that, and I begin comparing myself to people who are in my line of work, gets me off track. Does that make sense? Does that make some sense? When I compare myself to other people, it can get me off track. I think organizations, like I said the other day, fall into the same trap. We want to be aware of the competition, but we don't want to compare to the competition. Any of y'all like to debate? Y'all look like some good debaters. Anybody like to debate? All right, look, I want to stir the pot a little bit, okay? This is just us. This is just us, all right? We're friends. We're friends now, all right? I told you guys, one of the guys I came across I really like, his name is Jim Rohn. Well, Jim Rohn had a very unique philosophy and outlook on life. He would say things like, don't wish things were easier, wish you were better. Don't wish for less problems, wish for more skill. He would say things like, when you change the way you look at things, the things you look at begin to change. But here's the one I kind of want to stir the pot on, all right? He said, you don't get paid by the hour, you get paid for the value you bring to the hour. You don't get paid by the hour, you get paid for the value you bring to that hour. He said his mentor told him one time, he's told him this quote and he got mad at him. He said, no. He said, well, if that's not true, stay at the house, sit on the couch, tell them to mail you a check and see if that works out for you, right? You get paid for the value you and I bring to the hour. So here's where I want to go with this. Any of y'all ever heard this guy named Elon Musk? Okay, all right. I looked this up. This is old, so I need some new numbers, all right? This is 2020. In 2020, as the CEO of Tesla paid Elon Musk $6.65 billion to be the CEO of Tesla. Let me ask y'all, should Elon Musk get paid $6.65 billion? What was that? Yeah, he did. Let's go. He got to work. What y'all think? Should Elon Musk get paid $6.65 billion? Everybody quiet today. All right, let's do this. Who says Elon Musk should not get paid $6.65 billion? Who says he should? Okay, all right. Thank you all. Thank you. All right, so why? Why do you think Elon Musk should get paid? That's his work. Yeah. All right, let me say it in a slightly different way, all right? Any of y'all like professional soccer? Anybody? Anybody? No? Me and Kim, the only ones that like professional soccer? Okay. All right, let me ask this. How many of you have ever heard the name Cristiano Ronaldo? Okay, all right. So a couple of years ago, 2 years ago, Saudi Arabia paid Cristiano Ronaldo $213 million to play 1 year of soccer. Woo! Should Cristiano Ronaldo get paid $213 million? James, what you thinking, man?
What you bring to the table.
What do you bring to the table? Wow, that's interesting. Yeah. So when this happened a couple of years ago, I was talking to a guy. He loves professional soccer, and I was asking him, what you think about Cristiano Ronaldo? And he said, no, man, no. Cristiano Ronaldo, he's past his prime. He's done got old. He's got a bad attitude. Nobody likes him. And as I was talking to this guy walked by. I wasn't even in a conversation. He said, well, I don't know anything about soccer, but I know who Cristiano Ronaldo is. I didn't even know Saudi Arabia had a league until Cristiano Ronaldo started playing for Saudi Arabia, right? Whether Cristiano Ronaldo was old past his prime or played good or played bad, Saudi Arabia was looking for eyeballs. I'm going to say it one last way, okay? I do like professional baseball. And did you guys see a couple years ago, Shohei Ohtani got paid like $800 million, something like that? Something like that. Well, the year before, Aaron Judge, the Yankees paid him $40 million per year for 10 years. Guaranteed $40 million, it basically comes out to be. And the owner, George Steinbrenner, was on a radio show. And they were asking, he was like, man, how in the world can you guarantee somebody $40 million per year for 10 years? And he started breaking it down to him. He said, you know what? On jersey sales, we're going to make this. On advertising dollars, we're going to make this. On the Yes Network, we're going to make this. On ticket sales. They were paying that man pennies. Pennies compared to what his name on the back of their jersey was bringing in. And so I want to go back to that quote of Jim Rohn. You don't get paid by the hour. You get paid for the value you bring to the hour. Now, I know none of us are like entertainers and those kind of things, but let me tell you how you can increase your value. 3 ways for you to increase your value. Number 1 is value people. You got to value people. When you do not value people, you will not treat people with respect. You will not treat them properly. When you value people, you will. Number 2 is make yourself more valuable. Commit to investing in yourself, whether somebody else pays for it or not. Like, growth is the only guarantee that tomorrow will be better. I cannot lead you tomorrow based on today's leadership understanding. I got to get better. I got to invest in me. One of the things Jim Rohn said also, he said, if you work on your job, you will make a living. You work on yourself and you'll make a life. What he is saying is invest in yourself and you actually impact those around you. You make yourself better, you actually make the people around you better. Number 3 is know and relate to what other people find valuable. If you're able to understand and connect with a wide variety of people, people who look like you and people who don't look like you, people who believe like you and who don't believe like you, people who are older than you, younger than you, and same age as you, I'm telling you, influence is the number 1 thing. Did I tell you guys last week we were talking about that show we came across, Undercover Billionaire? Did I tell you guys about that? I think I mentioned it, didn't I? I think I mentioned it. Well, basically what they did, they took these 3 billionaires, took them to new cities they had never been to before. They gave them a phone with no contacts. They gave them $100 and an old truck. And they had 90 days with no contacts, no money but $100, and an old car. And they had 90 days to build a business from scratch when they didn't know anybody, never been to the town, and it had to be $1 million business within 90 days. All 3 of them said the same exact thing. I thought it was amazing. All 3 of them said, once I get my housing, I got to find some shelter. My number 1 step is I got to connect with people. I got to connect with people. And they talked about you cannot do whatever it is alone. If you got big dreams, you better have a big team. 1 is too small of a number to achieve anything of greatness. But y'all, here's the thing. If people cannot get along with you, they will not go along with you. And so, one of the ways that we can increase our value is by being able to connect with a wide variety of people. Here's my last 2 points, y'all, on being greatness. How do you live a truly great life? Well, I believe to truly live a great life, you got to be generous. You got to be generous. Truly great people are generous with their time, their talent, and their treasure. I don't believe you can be truly great and not be generous. Now, I do believe you can be successful and not be generous. I believe you can be $6.65 billion successful and not be generous, right? If you go back to the definition that we're calling success, success is how well I've done for me. But greatness has a generational tone to it. Greatness is how well I inspire others to do well for themselves and others. To be truly great, you got to be generous. Here's my last one, all right? Truly great people champion other people. It can't just be about you. Truly great people champion other people. Most people start on the borrowed belief of other people. Here, and I've shared that before, y'all. Most people, they've got somebody, or I know in your own life, most people who have achieved anything of greatness, they say, he believed in me before I believed in me. She believed in me before I believed in me. They had somebody who believed in them before they believed in themselves. And I bet that's true for you, right? You've had somebody who believed in you that took a chance on you before you even believed in yourself. But here's my point on this. I think we kind of understand you got to champion people and those kind of things. Y'all, but it's easy. It's easy to champion and to believe in people who are already doing amazing things. It's easy to believe in someone who's already established themselves. It's easy to put trust in someone who's already proven themselves trustworthy. It's a whole other thing to believe in someone before they've earned the right. It's a whole other thing to trust in someone before they've proven themselves trustworthy. But if you want to bring the best out of people, that's what you got to do, all right? But I got to give you a warning label, James. High risk, high reward. It's highly rewarding to invest in the life of someone else and to see them get it. But it's also high risk, because the very moment you start investing in the lives of other people, you know what you got to do? You got to get close. And when you get close, you open yourself up. You open yourself up to be abused, used, and accused. And you know what? If you've been in leadership long enough, it's happened to you. Can I get an amen, all right? Here's the truth, y'all. If you do not get close to people, they cannot hurt you. But if you do not get close to people, you can't help them and they can't help you. You got to get close. And I'm going to give you two of the best examples that I know of. Now, these are my examples. They may not be your examples, all right? And if you don't like my examples, that's all right. But maybe my examples will kind of stir something within you. For me, the two best examples that I can think of actually come from the Bible. The first one was David. David, before he became king of Israel, the dude was running for his life. And it said he would go hide out in all these caves. And it said all the people who were in debt, all the people who were discontented, all the people that like society would consider scoundrels, right? They came to David. That's basically the way they were described in the beginning, scoundrels. You know how they were described in the end? Giant killers, mighty men of valor. David turned scoundrels into mighty men of valor. The second example is Jesus. See, Jesus could have went to the powerful, the prestigious, or the religious. He could have went to the ones that already knew everything, but he went to the ordinary, he went to the outcast, he went to the ones that nobody liked, like the tax man. I think today is tax day, right? Nobody still don't like the tax man, James. People still don't like the tax man, no. But he went to the ordinary and he turned them into world changers. And so, here's my point. The same culture, the same environment that turned ordinary people into world changers, y'all, it also had a Judas. It had a betrayer. The same environment that turned scoundrels into mighty men of valor, it had Absalom, had a betrayer. High risk, high reward, but I believe the risk is far too great to at least not give it a go. So I'm going to end on two questions. These are my questions to you, okay? I don't know what the test questions say. I do believe it's open book. But here's my two questions to you, all right? I really would challenge you to answer this for yourself. Now, you don't have to talk to your neighbor about it. You don't even have to tell your neighbor or even the person at your seat. But I would love for you to answer this for yourself. First question. What do you want to be known for? What do you want to be known for? What do you want to be known for? Towards the end of last year, I actually did I did the first wedding, and then just a few days later, I did my first funeral, all right? I officiated my first funeral. James, they do not prepare you for a funeral, man. Like, at least some of y'all got smiles on your faces, okay? At least some of y'all. But you know in a funeral, they don't smile. You get up there to talk, and people ain't smiling. They didn't prepare me for that, right? But y'all, I was at that funeral, and at that funeral, you know, you got the obituary, and at the top of the obituary, they got these 2 dates. And in between these 2 dates, there's a space and this dash in between those 2 dates. And as I looked out at all these people, I realized that all these people in that room, y'all, they were there celebrating that space for this lady, because that space represented the impact that this lady had on every single life there. What I'm asking you is, what do you want that space to say about you? Did you know that every day you and I are writing that space? You can do it by accident, or you can do it by intentionality and design. Y'all, people may not remember everything that you did. They may not remember everything you said, but I guarantee you, especially after talking to people at that funeral, I guarantee you they will remember how you made them feel. Here's my second question to you, all right? That first question is, what do you want to be known for? Here's the second question. What are you known for? Yeah, that's a different question. What are you known for? How do your buddies describe you? How your girlfriends describe you, right? When your name comes up in conversation, what are they talking about? What are you known for? Kim and I, our PT clinic and our gym was in the big city of Manatee, Mississippi, Manatee. And I know some of you guys are familiar with Manatee. Manatee, you know what? It's got a Dollar General. In fact, it's got $2 Generals now. It's $2 Generals. And it's got a Mexican restaurant, right? And it's got this Mexican restaurant. And so it was lunchtime, and me and Kim were going to go get something to eat. So we go in this Mexican restaurant, and I walk in, and there's this guy in the back corner, and he pops up, and he says, "It's the gym guy." I was like, "That's right. I see you back there, brother." Put a smile on my face and a smile on my heart. You know, I was just cheesing. The gym guy. It's got a nice ring to it. We get finished eating. I get back out to the car. You know how you just feel somebody staring at you, right? I can feel Kim staring at me. And so I'm just smiling. I was like, "What? What is it?" She said, "The gym guy? The gym guy? Is that really what you want your life to be known for?" Well, when you say it like that, but when you say it like that, God, that sounds pretty cool, right? Y'all, what I'm asking you, what do you want to be known for, and what are you known for? And y'all, if they're different, what needs to change? You know what? If you don't like what you've done up until this point, you can change. You can change right now. You can walk out them doors, change. You know what? All you got to do is decide. And so, I hope today has added value to you guys. I hope you got at least uno thingo, at least one thing that you can take and apply. And I truly have enjoyed getting the opportunity to come out and hopefully add value to you guys. I know it's not easy to get in here every Wednesday, but y'all, I want to say I appreciate you guys coming in. I really do. And I think I've probably said this before as well. But you guys are making probably a greater impact and difference than you even know. Like you are literally impacting communities that impact families, that impact generations. You guys, you know that? Like you guys are actually doing that. And so sometimes I think we lose sight of that. And so it's an honor to get the opportunity to add value to y'all. So I appreciate y'all and thank you for your time. So thank y'all. Thank y'all.